What's up, Paul? How you doing today, buddy?
Not bad, not bad. Always good to talk all things 49ers. How are you?
Good, good, good. Off day today, so I figured I would reach out to you and try and get a time zone interworked, and we got it going. I know it's almost bedtime over there for you,
Mm.
and
Not for me.
we've
Not for
had a
me. Not quite the
you had.
kids, but we're all right for a few
Well,
hours. So
either
it's,
way, when the kids go to bed, apparently your podcast goes to bed too.
yeah, basically, I've moved my pod station upstairs. So for those people following my journey, Adam, I started off with doing pods on my phone, my iPhone headphones, and I've progressed now to I've got a pod station, as we call it, but it's upstairs. So it's 28 minutes past 8 in the UK. I have a 12 and 15-year-old that are at school tomorrow, so their bedtime is roughly about an hour from now. But I know we have to have something to eat and stuff first. So yeah, I have been a hard to pin down, Adam, but I've managed to make some time. It's always good to catch up with you, buddy.
I think your wife put it upstairs so you have to shut down when the kids go to bed. I kind of like that. Kind of like her for that one.
It was just more because when what was happening was I was working from home due to the pandemic, and I have a workstation, and what I was having to do was unplug the work laptop and all the work stuff, and then put my pod stuff on, and it was with the different times and different shows that I was doing. It was a lot of messing around, and then we decided that actually if I had a pod station, so the microphone's set up all the time, the camera's set up, I don't have to worry about moving stuff backwards and forwards. And I think you'll remember from the very first time me and you did a show together, I think I was sat on the couch with my leg in the cast after the ruptured Achilles. I had the laptop stationed on my lap, and I don't even think we had the camera on. So I fast forward to a year later, and I feel like I've got a decent setup, mate. So it's always good.
Yeah, whenever I first started on my own, and even doing them with Joffrey and Eric, we would do it on Facebook Messenger, and we would record on OBS and then put it on Spotify. And then I got introduced to StreamYard when I started doing, I think I was on my 15th show of doing it through Facebook Messenger and doing the recording like that. And then all of a sudden I got introduced to the StreamYard thing. And I really haven't looked back. I would like to get back into Spotify though. That was a big thing. People drive around and listen. One day I'll have enough time to go back and reorganize everything. Um, but yeah, Paul. So tell me, what do you think? Is Are they going to grab first place this week, or are the Eagles going to show up and play? Um, I think they can get it, but I think it's all based on this Eagles team.
Yeah, I mean, a few weeks ago, if we were having this conversation, I'd have turned around and said, "There's no way the Eagles lose out. They've been playing lights out." But it obviously goes to show you how competitive the NFL is. Obviously, Hurts being injured, changing that dynamic. I didn't expect the Eagles to lose to the Saints. Same hand, I didn't expect the Raiders to push us as closely as they did. But like you said, it wouldn't be a 49ers game, Adam, if it didn't come down to the last game of the season and there was something still to play for. So I'm very confident that we get the job done against the Cardinals. And I'm hoping and praying that the Giants want to put
Before,
one over.
hold on, Paul. Before I forget, we did have a very tragic moment on Monday night, and I went with the pit picture of Mr. Hamlin in college. I do want to pay a minute or like 20, 30 seconds of silence for him and prayers, and I wish him all the well. Sure, local kid went to McKees Rocks. Um, all right, I did not mean to interrupt you on that, but I wanted to get that out there, and give my respect for him, and I do wish him a speedy recovery. Obviously, I think everyone does. Obviously, whenever something like this happens, but
No,
we're not going to talk about it. We're just gonna, wait and see what happens.
yeah,
But
like you
the
said,
NFC picture still is a lot more clear than the AFC picture. Why naturally with all that going on. Um, so you were back to saying, what were you thinking?
Yeah, sorry. So, like you said, we've maybe done this back to front. Like you said, we're not going to go into the ins and outs, but our thoughts and prayers are with Hamlin and his family, and obviously the tragic events that we saw. It did shake up everybody on both sides of the pond. So it's a nice touch that you used his college photo, and we took a moment of silence. That said, I do think it is appropriate at this stage of the week to be able to talk about the NFL and talk about the playoffs. And I'm very confident that we get that number one seed. But on the same hand, it's all in the hands of the Eagles. As 49ers fans, all we can do is just obviously watch our game and hope the Giants turn up and hope that they want the NFC East bragging rights, for want of a better word, because the Giants are already in. It's not as if they have to beat the Eagles to be in there. But what's your thoughts as a neutral? Obviously, as a 49ers fan, I'm going to say that we're going to get the number one seed. But how are you viewing it from the outside looking in?
This is the way it would look right now if it ended today. We would have another week 3 matchup, or third time matchup of the Seahawks and the Niners. But then we would also have another great game too with the Giants and the Vikings. And then we would get that week 1 matchup again with the Cowboys and Buccaneers if it ended today. Do I feel the Niners can get it? Absolutely. I just hope that this doesn't turn into a stupid trap game with the Cardinals. It is division, it is rivalry, and you always look at these games like the Atlanta game, trap game, because everyone's looking ahead to the following week against Carolina, I think, correct? Or did it go Carolina, Atlanta? It went Carolina, Atlanta.
Yeah, it was Carolina, Atlanta, right?
And then the following game was a Chiefs game, right?
I believe so. Trying you test my knowledge now. There was a run of games where, like you said, we should have beat the Falcons, and obviously the Chiefs came into Levi's and basically taught us a lesson. But for me, the Cardinals isn't really a trap game this week. I think the performance against the Raiders will help. I think the defense will want to bounce back. I think the Cardinals are in disarray at the moment. Obviously, Kyler Murray's being shut down. I think David Blunt is playing at QB. D-Hop won't be playing. Slightly worried about JJ Watt being fired up for his last game before he heads off into retirement. But that said, I'm still more than confident in the 49ers. Obviously, we turned them over in Mexico. We've swept the division. If we win this one, we're playing for that number one seed. So I do think Kyle Shanahan has got his team fired up. We've got Brock Purdy. We've got Christian McCaffrey. We've got George Kittle
baby.
To bounce back. So, I mean, CMC, wow. I knew he was good, Adam, but I didn't think he was going to be this good. And not just in the running game, but the element that he adds to our offense in the receiving game as well. And obviously, since he's become the starter, we haven't lost a game. And if we win, I said on your show at the start of the season, we would be 13-4. I've been quite vocal that I thought the 49ers would end 13-4 if we beat the Cardinals.
I was going to bring out the schedule. I was going to bring it out, and then I started cleaning today because I'm off today. I don't have many opportunities to actually break down and clean further than I normally do. I was going to bring it out, but I did not bring it out. But I do recall you saying something in that area.
Yeah, it was consistent on all the shows that I did. I said 13-4. And maybe he's got some of the 4 losses the wrong way around, but this is the NFL. All it counts about is in that win-loss column. So I'm looking forward to the game. It's a 9:25 p.m. kickoff for us in the UK.
4:25 here, yes. So 9:25. I imagine you're going to stay up and watch the whole thing, unless it does turn into a blowout.
No, well, even if it's a blowout, I'll stay and watch. I watch every game. It's just always fortunate when we're not the prime time game, because when it starts at 1 a.m. this time, it doesn't finish 4:30 in the morning. But the playoffs are around the corner, so I'm prepared for a couple of late nights. But you've got to love the NFL. You've put the graphic up there. I hate to break it to any Seahawks fans watching, but I don't think they get in, Adam. I think the Packers beat the Lions, and I think that they get in. I think Aaron Rodgers is coming into form at the right time. And I think we see a replay of the Packers versus the 49ers. And I'm looking forward to maybe handing him the 5th loss in the playoffs. I'm very confident in our defense. I'm very confident that we can go up against anyone in the NFL. And we do have or we will have at that point, the defensive player of the year, Nick Bosa. Because for me, he solidified that last week with that performance against the Raiders. When he made that game-changing knock onto the quarterback and the ball went up in the air, for me, you want your big players in big moments to stand up. And he'd been quiet up until that point. So, and I think Ryans makes the necessary adjustments because our secondary didn't look great last week.
Are we getting Debo back this week? I didn't even get a chance to look that far yet. Or are they going to save him for the first round?
I would say,
or if they get the bye, that's 3 weeks. That could be another 3 weeks recovery if they get the bye.
I don't think we need to rush him back. Like, I think the great thing with our offense, I mean, I said again, feeling quite smug start of the season. I said Brandon Ayuk could have a breakout year. He would become receiver number one. Doesn't necessarily mean he's our best offensive weapon, but I think he's grown into that role as wide receiver one. He's had another great game, and I think we don't need to rush Debo back. You know, TDP was in the mix on Sunday. Jordan Mason scored his first rushing touchdown. You've got Christian McCaffrey.
I was very excited.
Got George Kittle. You've got, obviously, Juwan Jennings. Danny Gray's been in the mix. Ray McLeod. I mean, McLeod had the 71-yard touchdown run the week before against the Commanders.
He's got speed.
He's
got speed. Yeah. The question is, can he catch the damn ball?
So,
I mean, that was even a problem in Pittsburgh, too. Sometimes he did not catch the ball real well.
Yeah, there was a knock on that. I know when we drafted him, there was a few people because he was primarily drafted to be the punt kick returner, and obviously it was well documented. He had a couple of drops, but it was great to see him run that 71-yard one in against the Commanders. I'm hoping he breaks a kick returning before the end of the season. Adam's been close a couple of times to evading that last man, but I think he's done well since he's come in. He's been quite a good signing. He's someone I'm glad that we've picked up.
I was sad to see him go from the Steelers, obviously, but he just didn't fit in well here anymore. You know, with all the receivers that Steelers have, and you know, unfortunately, there's not enough room on every roster. I mean, how deep you want to be is how deep you want to be on those 53-man rosters, but you still need to fill out the whole squad, right?
Well, that's the beauty of the NFL with the salary cap. You can't pay everybody. Sometimes, you know, you let a player go. I mean, earlier on in the season, I mean, we played the Dolphins and Trent Sherfield scored an 81-yard bomb against us. There was a lot of 49er fans like, why did we let this kid go? But there's always a lot of ifs and buts, and players move around. It's part of the parcel of the game. Sometimes it's the same with the draft. Sometimes you hit it right. Sometimes you don't. I mean, look at 49ers traded all those picks for Trey Lance. Jimmy Garoppolo came back in. And who would have thought at this stage of the season we'd be talking about Mr. Irrelevant and the Brock Express and, you know, the 49ers win out, how I think they can. And if we end up with that, you know, 6 Lombardi, then you've got a whole different conversation with the quarterback room in the offseason.
I still believe the quarterback room is going to be committee in training camp next year. I think with the way Purdy's playing right now, I think this is going to become a hot topic. Because even as teams have had a chance to prepare for him, they're not stopping him.
He had his worst game since taking over on Sunday, and there was still a lot to be positive about. I'm not going to go down the rabbit hole of next season because we've still got this.
I was just saying. I saw the former GM Randy Mueller was talking about it already. I forget what show it was on, but I saw a little bit of it. But he was saying how it's going to be a competition next spring for sure.
Yeah, Kyle Shanahan will probably turn it over to a competition, like you said. I think the QB room will be Lance and Purdy. I don't think we give up on Lance just yet. I think obviously he had a freak injury. The draft capital that we've invested, me and you have talked about it at length on other shows and off-air in DMs. So it's going to be a hot topic for 49ers content creators. It's certainly going to keep us all busy in the off-season. But for now, focusing on Week 18. You must be nervous. Pittsburgh Steelers still in with a shout.
I don't even know what to think of the AFC right now. I don't. With this game not being played on Monday, you know, resuming whatever the NFL is going to decide, are they just going to kind of like let Buffalo get the number 1 seed because of what happened? or the Chiefs going to lay down this weekend and just say, Buffalo, here, take it. We want to go through Orchard Park instead of going through Chief Kingdom in Missouri? I don't know what to think because, this is a pretty tragic event in the AFC, and there's still so many teams right now. Like, if the Patriots get in, as I recall, I don't think they've beaten anyone over 500.
Yeah,
And they're gonna possibly get in the 7th seed. I mean, that's pretty damn amazing, actually. I just don't know what to think right now because the AFC is a mess.
Yeah,
if that ended today, this is the way the AFC would look. But obviously, the Bills are going to be a game short. So are the Bengals. So I don't have a full picture on AFC because of everything that happened.
Yeah,
like, are they debating? Are they going to let it wait and see if the Bengals have to play this game again?
I don't know. I know they've got. I know when obviously the tragic events of 9/11 occurred, they moved some things around, and I've seen talk today that one of the options could be let Week 18 play out, and then obviously move some of the games after that. So then you're looking at moving bye weeks around. Obviously, the other option, like you said, is they don't replay the game. They call it a tie game or they call it a forfeit or whichever way they want to do it. I just hope that whatever the NFL decides, Adam, to talk to the Bills and Bengals players about it, because I know we said at the start of the show we weren't going to get into it, but there is the human element of the NFL. Obviously, I woke up on Tuesday morning, saw what had happened because I didn't stay up for that game. My thoughts straight away with the friends and family. You know, we talked about it happening on this side of the pond, in the Euros. Christian Eriksen went down. That was quite a high-profile one.
I mean, we could jump down this hole real quick because a couple soccer games have finished with people collapsing, and a couple have not. So I've only seen the stories of people collapsing over in your side at soccer games, but I don't know if they ever needed resuscitated twice in one motion. I don't, it doesn't say all that whenever you click on the link. It just kind of says soccer player collapses.
So with the Christian Eriksen one, it was in the European Championships.
That was 2020.
Yeah, I'm not a massive soccer, football, whichever way you want to call it, fan anymore. NFL fan. But when the major tournaments are on, I like to catch up with buddies that are big fans. And that particular day, I was going to a barbecue, and I just arrived when the Eriksen thing had happened. I think the difference between soccer and football, obviously, when he went down on Monday night, he's got all his pads on, he's got the helmet on. You're obviously not 100% sure, is it concussion? Is he being hit? So I think the medical staff did as well as they could at the time. I think obviously with the Christian Eriksen one, I do believe he was resuscitated from what I recall. If I'm wrong, I apologise. But I do think a lot of credit goes to the Chiefs, to the Bengals and the Bills organisations for the way they handled it. The fact that regardless of the connotations of the playoffs, I think it was the right decision personally not to play that game. I have been very quiet on social media for the last couple of days because I've been trying to get the updates myself, same as everybody who's an NFL fan. Do like the community spirit. I like the fact that the donation to his foundation, that he was his GoFundMe page.
I think he's up over 5.5 million last I looked, and that's amazing. Even NFL players have donated to it. I saw Drew Brees donated. I saw Tom Brady donated. Someone donated 10K and another person donated 3K. I forget. I don't recall all the names. With everything happening, you look at something and read it, and then all of a sudden you're on to the next to figure out what's going on. So you can't remember everything.
I mean, like I said at the start of the show, talking NFL, Hamlin had a good season for the Bills. I'm a big fan of the locker room rant. So my good friend John V, who's one of the most passionate, loyal 49er fans, he does a show, Adam, with his two best mates, Tony, who's a Bills fan, Nico, who's a Browns fan, and they talked on it on their show last night. And Tony, the Bills fan, had said he'd had a good season. He's come in there leading the team in tackles, 24 years of age. You put up his college photo. And I like the fact that the human element of the player is out there. And obviously his uncle's been providing updates. And I'm a father. I'm a 42-year-old. I've suffered my own injury concerns, and straight away you think of your friends, you think of your family. It's apparently shown signs of improvement, which is always good. So, as an AFC fan like you are, the difficulty must be trying to get your head around everything that's happening. But in the grand scheme of things, I know there's been a lot of talk on Twitter about fantasy football championships and all the rest of it. For me, that's just secondary. You don't worry about
I
any of
was
that.
in one and I had Diggs on Monday night, and I think we're just going to co-champion and both be on the trophy and split the pot. I think that's what we're going to do. So
it's like you said,
the right thing to do, I think. But anyway,
it's
I mean, I could ask
unprecedented.
you, where'd you finish in your SFB, the fishbowl?
So the Scott Fishbowl didn't go nowhere near as well as it did. So with my injury this time last year, I entered far too many fantasy leagues. I think I was in 21 leagues in total. I made 4 finals. I bagged 1 late on Sunday night. So I had no players in the Monday night game. So that one done and dusted. And then I was waiting on a couple of players on the Monday night game. But as soon as you saw what happened on Tuesday morning, it's by the by. Like you said, I've not even looked at the messages from the league and what's happening. I'm just hope that, Demar, number 3. I like the fact that all the teams have come together. They've all changed the pictures on social media. I'm a fan of the NFL because I love the community spirit. Me and yourself have connected. Class you as a friend. We talk football, we talk friends, we talk family. And I like to see that that's happened on the professional side as well. And it's been good to see everybody come out and keep this young man in their prayers and thoughts.
No, I didn't see any of this update because it doesn't show up much. But did any of the stadiums, such as Wembley or Tottenham, put up the Bills colors in honor of Hamlin?
I haven't seen that.
Like a lot of the NFL stadiums did around the league.
I haven't seen that, to be honest. A lot of our stadiums on this side of the pond aren't lit up unless it's a game day. And you'll probably chuckle. My social media feed is very, very heavy on the NFL. So I don't see much.
Oh, no, I was just wondering because, they play in those stadiums. I was just wondering if they did like a commemorative thing for him, like to show support,
Not that I've seen, which obviously makes us sound horrific on this side of the pond. I mean, I run the 49er Faithful UK social media account. We tend not to post anything unless it's 49er related. But obviously, I've joined in the sharing the best wishes to Demar and his family, and I've obviously tweeted some stuff out. I haven't changed our header or our pictures and stuff. I've left that.
I haven't done any of that either.
But there has been conversations in our group and in our group chats, and like you said, the implications of fantasy football became, total insignificance to us all. And it's been a bit of a strange one for me on social media this week. I do a lot of my stuff on Twitter, and I've tried not to tweet too much. It's gone back to normal a little bit today, and I think, like you said, I think that's what's happening around the league. And I've seen other people do shows. Breezy went live earlier, which I didn't catch because I was working. I know John Chapman has put a show out today.
I was trying to get him to stop by, but I never got a response. I was trying.
Oh, he's a busy man, Breezy.
He's a real busy man, Ben. He does 4 or 5 shows a day sometimes, it feels like.
Yeah, he's a big fan of Breezy.
Okay. We'll leave the Hamlin. We'll stop the Hamlin talk, but I just wanted to throw this one out there. Harrison Phillips played with Hamlin in college, and he picked up the tab for all the food and all the nurses and everything in the hospital since all this happened. So I thought that was a really, really nice thing to do. That just came out a little bit ago.
I mean,
I thought that was a really nice idea.
Oh, like you said, I was going to say, moving on and staying on a similar topic. So I'm reminded it was the NFC Championship game last year, Adam, where I suffered my injury. And I was obviously laid up in the house, and I met yourself, and you've been someone that's kept contact with me.
That injury, Paul. That injury, Paul, might have opened your whole door to the whole career.
But it's introduced me to
now
people
that you're back to normal.
Yeah, it's to be honest, my partner Tracy. I went to her earlier and I said, look, I'm doing a show with somebody who gave me my shot at going on YouTube, and I said, Adam has asked if if we can go live. Adam's someone that I've done a couple of shows with, and I explain that we're friends, and she's always supportive where she can. And like she was just pointing out that the time difference, and like you said, you've been very patient, which I appreciate. But I was bringing this up that you've been one of those people that was supporting me in the background, and it is appreciated. So it is nice to see that, like I said, in the professional side. And like you said, I just wanted to say thank you before we moved on into the other bits of the NFL.
Yeah, we're getting Niners chaos. He's going to be popping in here in a minute. He just got out of school, I guess, and he's done work. So he's like, send me the link. I went in. And I was like, all right. So we're going to get Niners chaos in here in a minute. He's in Sacramento. He lives in Sacramento. But Paul, we'll wait for him to get here before we move on. But are you getting ready to do the flag football again, or how's that rolling?
Funnily enough, so I do appreciate asking. The January the 20th, so that's 2 weeks' time. I'm heading up to Glasgow in Scotland for a big international tournament, which is being well attended by teams from across the UK. So it's going to be a 2-day flag football tournament. So yes, I will be partaking Adam in my first proper full tournament for a full weekend. Excited and nervous, as you know, with my story. I'm still a rookie, not played many games.
Rookie of the year, you're gonna be looked at hardcore now.
Ordered myself a pair of cleats this afternoon. Get some new cleats. I've got my jerseys ready. Getting my.
What'd you go with? Did you go with high tops for the knees or mid tops?
I've gone for some mid tops because of my Achilles, and I have gone for. You're asking me now. They're a pair of Nike Shark, I believe. Obviously, when I get them, I'm getting them tomorrow. I paid for the express delivery, so when they come tomorrow, I'll get a picture whacked on Twitter, and I'll be showing them bad boys off. So, yeah, decided, obviously, if I'm going to be playing in a proper tournament, I need to look the part, don't I, Adam? You look good, you play good. My motto, anyway.
Sometimes you don't have to look good. As long as you play good, you're going to get noticed, Paul. It's not about what you wear. It's about how you play.
Well, I am 42 at the end of the day, so I don't think I have many years of flag football, but it is something that I am proud I've pushed myself to do. I've been into this crazy game of the NFL since 2012, which when we met for the first time. And last year, my New Year's resolution was to try this wonderful game. I'm too old for contact. Ironically, I didn't think I'd cope with contact and injury, so I went down the flag football route. But I'm absolutely loving every minute of it. I love the training. I love the team spirit. I love the banter. And I love the fact that I do the 49ers stuff like this, but when I go to flag, there's a couple of Seahawks fans, there's a Packers fan, there's a Giants fan.
That's what you were saying. This whole first week could be entertaining if it does play out this way.
So on Sunday, one of the assistant coaches is a Raiders fan. So as you can imagine, there's 2 49ers fans and 1 Raiders fan. So when we rock up to training on Sunday, we're going to be giving him the, obviously decked out in 49er gear, giving him a bit of trash talk that he gave us. But it's all good humour and good banter. But yeah, I'll keep you updated with footage and how I do. And
yes, definitely. We'll talk about it. I love it. It's fun. I like talking to people about what they, outside of the national world, That's just me, though.
Well, like you said, it's going to be a 2-day tournament. It's going to be a lot of players there, a lot of teams, and it just goes to show you.
How many teams are we looking at?
Well, it's a 2-day tournament, so in my division, let's have a look. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4. We've got 5 games on the first day, and I think there's 6 groups. I know it's a 2-day tournament. It's at a big indoor arena up in Glasgow. It's a national Scotland's flag national organisation are running it.
Flag do they do like a round robin?
Yeah. So flag football is massive in the UK.
So 2 losses, you're done.
Yeah. So what they're going to do, because obviously teams are travelling, they're going to have like the best teams will play day 2 for the championship, and then the teams that didn't will play in like a runner-up competition. So you're not just going to not play, but there's a lot of hard work going into it.
Is this 3-on-3 or 5-on-3 or 7-on-7?
5-on-5. So 5 on offense, 5 on defense.
So you're going to have a rusher.
Yeah, I've tended to play blitzer when I've been doing that quite well recently.
Is it going to be a
So
count rush, or is there going to be defense or offensive linemen that block this time?
I don't think you're allowed to block the blitzer. I think you just have to, if the blitzer gets impeded, it can be a penalty, but you just have to try and pull the flag. But it won't
I
surprise you
wasn't
to hear
sure.
that I've taken over
Many flag things are very different. Some have some actually have 3 blockers,
not that I've
and
played. I've only ever done it where like I'm still learning the game, which is quite crazy that I'm going to be playing the tournament. But I've not had anyone where they can impede. I think you have to be 7 yards away from the QB. As long as you put your hand up to signal that you're blitzing the QB, so he knows you're coming, nobody can block you getting to him, and obviously or her, whichever the QB is to try, because it's mixed flag, you say, so it's male and female competing.
And can the QB scramble once rushed?
Yeah, they can run around, throw the ball.
No, I mean, like, can they scramble though? I mean, like,
no, they can't go forward past the line of scrimmage, I believe, unless
either they're getting sacked or throw that ball away.
That's the whole.
No, do they have like intentional grounding and all that crap?
I believe so.
I didn't know if they had flat. I didn't know if you guys had flat. I didn't know. I don't know the rules.
I don't know the rules either. I'm still. To be fair, the team have been pretty epic. So obviously, I went to my first training session, broke my finger. Second training session, I went just to learn the ropes and run some of the routes, and then I did some extra running outside, and that's when I ruptured my Achilles. So this leads us nicely on to someone's joining.
What's up, Niners? How you doing, buddy?
What's going on?
Man, we're going to talk some Niners. That's what we were doing. I've been trying to get a hold of you for the last couple of days. You know, we finally got in contact now.
Power outages. Sacramento is in bad shape right now. It's we're getting.
Well, you got a cyclone bomb coming or something crazy. I don't even know. I just saw this in the news. I was like, what the hell is a cyclone bomb?
It's really crazy. This like we thought the bad one had hit. Now we're told that tonight's going to be much worse. So we'll see what happens.
So are you flooding or what? I don't know I know what a cyclone is, but I mean, are you getting the waves, the flooding, and all that crap?
We're not getting the flooding in downtown Sacramento, but there's areas around Sacramento, like the suburbs around Sacramento, like Natomas, like these areas that are below sea level. And we got a lot of levees, and there's some of the levees are already a little compromised and not well maintained. So there's a lot of it's getting, every time we get these storms, it gets worse and worse. Like the flooding gets worse and worse. Not so much downtown, but
it's going to be on scrutiny.
So it's kind of crazy to let it happen around your capital.
So were the Niners maybe not ready for Jarrett Stidham? Is that kind of like why Stidham was able to have a good game?
It's an interesting question.
Paul Chaos, I forgot to introduce you to.
Hey, what's going on, Paul?
Not bad, buddy. I can't help but notice. I was going to say, it looked like you had a New York Jets flag behind you, which looks very similar to my 49ers faithful UK. Looks like they've copied our design, so I was a little bit confused there.
It's interesting. Somebody sent that to me from England. So he's from Stoke City.
Right.
And he's a Jets fan that he custom made a combined New York Jets Stoke City flag, and he sent it to me.
That's what we've got. Similar.
That's
so we are the 49er faithful UK. So we took the Union Jack, made it our own colours, and put the 49er symbol on. So yeah, I couldn't help but notice that, because I'm quite close to some of the members from the Gangrene UK that run the Jets. They've got quite a good fan following.
I think that's so cool that's like a thing that you do. Like, I thought he just created that. So I didn't realize that was a thing. Like, to combine, like, if you like an American football team, we're going to do a banner or flag that kind of combines it with our local our local soccer team, but as we call it. But that's interesting, because I thought it was like a one of a kind idea. Even now you have one too for the Niners. That's really cool.
Yeah, I've seen the Seahawks do it, but yeah, it's our little bit of kind of with the international series games coming over, and obviously I was saying to Adam before you joined, I don't watch English football I watch the NFL, and I'm a 49ers fan. And to answer Adam's question quite cheekily, I wasn't worried. I quite enjoyed the game against the Raiders. It was nothing to play for want of a better word, for the Niners. I think it was quite good that it happened this week. Robbie Gould missing that kick. He shouldn't miss another one. The defense will bounce back. And we got to see the Brock Express after it hit a few bumps in the road and bounced back after adversity. So I was quite impressed, Adam, at how we bounced back and we won.
I was at work, obviously, because the Steelers played at night, so we were busy during that whole time. And this kid had a Kittle. This kid that I work was a huge Niners fan. Had his Kittle jersey on at work, and I go, "What are you wearing that thing at work for? You're gonna get it dirty. We work in a food restaurant." And he's like, "I don't care. I'm representing today." I was like, "All right." And then I saw it went to overtime, and he's like, "I can't believe this game just went to overtime." And I was like, "This game, like, I thought they were gonna blow him out of the water, to be honest." But I'm kind of glad. Sometimes you need that wake up game before the playoffs. That you find these holes that need a little bit adjusting. I thought that this was a good wake up call for the defense.
Yeah, I think also I think when you prepare for the Raiders, you're preparing for Jacobs. Even though it's I mean, the coach obviously for the Raiders, McDaniels, it's kind of nuts. He's misused his players this year, I think. But if you're looking at it as an opposing coach, you're thinking, how could he not? Now he's using a backup quarterback, whatever. He's sitting Carr. How is he not going to use the leading rusher in football? Like, obviously, that's going to be the game plan. The Niners come out and hold them under 100 yards. So they were completely prepared for Jacobs. You have a backup quarterback you don't know a lot about, and you got to recognize that those yards and everything he did come at the expense of 2 interceptions. So, meaning it's not like he was able to do that easily. It's like he took chances and he did daring things, and it led to 2 interceptions as well. It wasn't like he just was able to put up 350, 3 touchdowns without any negative. And also just plainly, just to answer the question, you could have a great defense. It doesn't mean you play your best game every game, right? It's not like nothing is automatic in the NFL. You have a great defense, you come out, your expectation is you're going to shut a team down, and it just doesn't happen. And that's why they play the game, because we don't know what's going to happen until the game is played. And I do agree. It's a good wake-up call for them to look at tape now and look at the film and say, was this about, were we not motivated enough? Was this game plan? Was this people relaxed, missing assignments? And, obviously you got to learn from it. You got to look at it, because you can't bring that into the playoffs.
I think another thing that you've said quite well there, to go on about Jacobs having a great game, Chaos. He only had 69 yards. It wasn't exactly a monster performance. And Devontae Adams had 153 yards, but that wasn't a catch. It hit the ground. There was a couple of penalties which would have brought stuff back. So you take 14 points off the Raiders, and we're sat here with a 37-20 victory. Nobody bats an eyelid. And sometimes, Adam, good teams have bad games and the great teams win. And for me, Nick Bosa was very quiet until it mattered the most. And for me, that shows why he's a defensive player of the year. I mean, our rookie QB, Brock Purdy, looked more like a rookie than he ever has. There's a couple of throws that he could have had back, but that final drive, Chaos, for me, Shanahan put the ball in his hands and said, go on, drive them up the field. I like the fact that when Robbie Gould missed, went into overtime, CMC could have ran that one in for a winning touchdown. But Shanahan said, get yourself back out there, Robbie. Redeem yourself. Get that one out your system and kick it over. And I'm not pessimistic about this performance at all. And you look at the great defenses over the years. Sometimes these games happen. Now, for me, Ryans has the defense with the bend but not break mentality. Cooper Kupp has got big chunk yards against us. Adams has got chunk yards against us. But when you get in the red zone, I was very encouraged by that goal line stand. It's great to see Kinlaw and Armstead in there. And for me, the Raiders, Stidham looked better than what we anticipated. Josh McDaniel put a good game plan in for him, but we move on to the Cardinals and hopefully the number 1 seed heading into the playoffs.
Jared Stidham was Josh McDaniels' man in New England. Josh McDaniels knew what he was doing when he got Stidham.
New England.
I'm just throwing that out there because Josh McDaniels did praise him in New England. He wanted him to be the starter. He wanted, just throwing that out there.
They've always done a good job at scouting and drafting quarterbacks. Not necessarily superstars, but just solid quarterbacks. Like guys that legitimately, we saw, obviously they drafted Jimmy G while they had Brady, and he turned out to be a solid NFL quarterback, or he is. I know we kind of run him through the ringer and everything and beat up on him. But at the end of the day, there are a lot of teams that would love to have Jimmy G. I mean, if you look at every way to rate a quarterback or rank a quarterback, it's fans always want more, but he's a quarterback. He's a real legitimate NFL quarterback. Remember Matt Cassell had when Brady got hurt for a year, he led New England to an 11-5 record. It was like so I'm just saying they just have been, even with all those years with Brady, they were able to find real quarterbacks as their backups. They drafted mid to late round quarterbacks that turned out to be real quarterbacks in the NFL. So it's impressive. So maybe this is just another one of those guys that organization discovered and found.
Maybe it's found their Brock Purdy.
I mean, that is incredible.
Brock Purdy is funny, because Trayvon Walker's been. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was just going to say that the score, the score in Brock Purdy, I think sometimes people don't appreciate how deep it goes. Like, it's not only is he winning games for them now and keeping them, and giving real hope and belief that they could still make a Super Bowl run, which is something you would never have believed before he came into the game that first time. But he also resolves all of off-season issue about what do we do if Trey Lance is not ready? What if he's not the guy? Like, there's no longer this worry of should we pay Jimmy G $30 million a year to stay. Brock Purdy has resolved that issue. He's basically saved the team $30 million a year, at least for the next year, because now they don't have to worry about Jimmy G. They don't have to worry about paying all this money as an insurance policy to Trey Lance. They have him for free on like a rookie deal. It's an amazing thing. It's such a great development for the organization.
Paul, there we go, down that rabbit hole again, like we talked about earlier. We were just talking about the
QB.
I brought it up earlier. I said we got a controversy in training camp next year already.
I think it's just about whether Trey is the real thing or not, and I think they're going to find out pretty fast.
So let's move on to Arizona, guys. J.J. Watt's will be the last game ever, because obviously the Cardinals are not going anywhere near the playoffs. And it ends in San Francisco or Levi. How will there be a moment? Will San Francisco do anything for him as like a little commemorative thing, or no? I'm just curious. The last game of the year, everyone says possible first-time ballot Hall of Famer. Everything's up for debate, obviously. But, I mean, how big of a game is this?
Well, before I let Chaos answer, Adam, I am going to have to shoot off because it's approaching 9:10 in the UK.
I know. I'm just trying to be quick. I'm trying to be quick.
So, Chaos, I have to jump off, buddy. I will obviously touch base with you again. Adam,
absolutely.
Been a pleasure as always. And I'll get some
always,
more time
Paul.
where I can
always. Paul, how people get you, man?
Just Twitter is my main one. So follow there's my Twitter handle, and enjoy the rest of the show, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Nice meeting you.
Thank you, Paul, for coming on. We'll talk. All right, that was Paul Hope. Going to be doing some bringing more dynamite to the gold mine here. Chaos, what's going on, man?
Hey, I missed it. Who you were talking about in his final game?
J.J. Watt.
Yeah.
His final game.
It's interesting. I mean, when it's on the road, what is it? I think he had his big it's weird when a guy leaves his home team, his initial team, and finishes up
The
his career.
Texans.
Yeah, yeah, and finishes his career somewhere else because neither really had him in his prime and really got the Hall of Fame guy, for the amount of years. But he did okay in Arizona in the beginning, his first year, right?
Right. Yeah, they went to the playoffs. Didn't go deep, obviously. I think they were one and done, but they made the playoffs. He's, my biggest thing about JJ, great player, but no trophies, no AFC championship games, no NFC championship games, no Super Bowls. I don't know how people judge anymore. Or is it a popularity contest to make the hall?
Well, I mean, obviously being on Houston wasn't his fault.
No, definitely not.
You know,
But he had a supporting class, had had Clowney at some point, had Joseph at one point. I mean, they had a defense. Their defense
yeah,
was always good. It was the
yeah.
offense that was a
He had
nightmare.
a great linebacker behind him too. I'm forgetting his name right now, but there's a very good linebacker there for a lot of years too in Houston. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the problem, if it's too much on, if the Hall of Fame is based mostly on winning, like playoffs and those kind of things, I think the challenge there is you get these organizations that in the NFL that never win, right? Like the Jets, um, or
Right? Yeah.
Miami, or Miami Dolphins, or the Jets. These teams haven't won in 50 years, and it's like, what do you do? It's hard to say that you don't recognize the players, like, because is the Hall of Fame about like how are you judging or rating the Hall of Fame? How do you setting up the criteria? Helping your team win and winning MVPs is obviously a big deal and a big part of it. But like
I
the
mean,
Jets had Darrell Revis, right? Now a lot of people will argue, and whether either way, whether he's number one or number two, very few people will deny he's, if not the best cornerback to ever play in the NFL, he's in the top two. And if we're being generous and saying, okay, we'll consider another argument, say top three, then you run out of people. There's no one that knows football or has watched football once you get to top three that's going to argue and say he wasn't in the top three, right? So, but
right.
Darrell Revis, he went to New England to win a Super Bowl. Okay, he went on to a Tom Brady Super Bowl team to win his Super Bowl. If he never did that and stayed with the Jets, does he not make the Hall of Fame? Top three cornerback to ever play the game.
I think he does.
Yeah. So I think that would be JJ Watt's argument is just, yeah, I didn't win anything. I didn't play for winning teams or teams that obviously didn't have enough to win, but I'm one of my generation, of this generation, he's one of the great pass rushers.
Defensive player of the year, I think twice.
Mm-hmm.
I got into a huge argument over this. There's only are you aware there's only 38 linemen in the Hall of Fame?
I didn't know
Defensive
that.
linemen?
Defensive, that's shocking. But also it might be because it's so heavily dependent on one stat, sacks.
And
You know?
there's only two linemen that are in the hall that have been with their team the whole time. One is Stevens from Seattle.
Okay.
And he was there 13 years. And I forget who the other one is. But the last lineman to make it was Michael Strahan. But now I think Brian Young made it this year, right? He was a defensive lineman, right? So there might be 39 now.
It's interesting you say that too, because it took them forever to get Joe Klecko in there, and there's a same kind of thing. You're right. I mean, unbelievable. Like, what do they have against the position? I mean, that it would take him so long to get in. Here's a guy that was a Pro Bowler on 3 different positions on the line, meaning he played nose tackle, he played defensive tackle on a 4-3. He played ends on a 3-4. So, and he was a Pro Bowler on all 3. I think all pro on 2 different positions. So, like, and helped create the statistic we call a sack, right, on the Sack Exchange in New York. And it took years for this guy to get into the Hall of Fame.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, defensive lineman is probably one of the hardest positions to make the Hall.
Mhm.
What are we eating? Are we eating those popcorn chips, or what are we eating?
I'm on a diet, so I have this little tiny bag of pirate booties, and I have to eat them one at a time to make them last. I used to put down 5 or 6 of these in 15 minutes. Like I would just grab a handful of them out of the box, out of
I
the
thought that's how
Costco
you
box.
ate them. I thought
Yeah,
that's how you ate them.
yeah. No, I mean I'd grab 5 mini bags out of the Costco carton and just go through 5 bags. But now I just have to savor one bag for like 20 minutes and let it last.
You get to savor the moment.
Yeah. It's like counting every calorie. That's what happens when you stop paying attention to your weight, and then you decide you have to lose it. Are you wearing a Yankees hoodie? No.
No, I'm wearing a you can't miss
Ah,
shots glasses.
Hmm.
It's a grunt style.
got it. Got it.
I'm off today, so I started cleaning, and before I know it, I was like, "Oh shit, I got to throw on at least a clean hoodie." But yeah, I was asking Paul if he thought that this was like a mini trap game.
I think the Raider game was the trap game.
That's what we're
I
going
think that.
Raiders.
I think I think that was the trap game, and they escaped it. They dodged a loss. There's no way if that's a playoff game to me, or like a game that they're just like they're not coming off a winning streak and they haven't been winning. That's no way a game that's going to be that close or competitive. I honestly believe that they came out expecting it to be easy. They lost that edge.
And the Raiders were coming off the terrible loss on Christmas Eve to the Steelers.
Yeah, yeah, and I honestly think that football there's enough parity. As good as teams are with record, and as bad as some teams are, there's enough parity that if you lose that edge, that little bit of edge, that preparation, that hunger, the nerves, we have to come out and play, and execute to win, and you get it all relaxed and expect to win. I think that those are the things you see happen, and how fast, it's like a flood. It just gets worse and worse. As soon as it doesn't go your way the first quarter, or you're not taking over the game, it's hard to get it back if you didn't prepare all week the right way. And I think that's
That motive,
yeah,
that momentum you're talking about. It's hard to get back.
and it's a good thing that Paul was right before when he said it too. Like even with the defense, it's a good thing possibly that it happened, because it's kind of like that wake up call of, hey, you guys have been doing this by working hard and having that edge. And it's like, once you take that edge away, you're nothing. So you better keep that edge. Otherwise, you're going to lose. And
Right.
I think that they're going to bring it back against Arizona. I think that like they're going to finish off the season. I think after that happened, I think that that's what they're thinking. Like, we're not going to take Arizona lightly. We're going to go in there and take care of business and get sharp for the playoffs.
As they should.
Yeah.
As they should. So you back at work now, Jets, after the break?
I am back at work because I came home a little early because I'm commuting pretty far right now. So, and the storm is, so once the wind started to pick up, I said I better get, it's 45 miles, 40 miles. I better get on the road that I take home, the freeway I take home is like 2 lanes, and part of it is known to flood. So you can't wait until it rains. Like otherwise you'll get stuck in a flood. So I said I got to get back. Yeah, no. So there's another highway that's that increases the trip. It makes it, instead of a 45-minute drive, an hour and 15-minute drive. But you're going out of your way to go to the big highway, to go to Highway 5. I could take that.
Highway 5, that's the one that runs the whole way up and down the coast.
Right. So there's always the the 5, but which is probably how I'll get to work tomorrow. But yeah, I wasn't gonna wait around and then wait for the 5, and have to take the 5, and if there's any accident or if the wind's really bad or
You'd
anything
still be
like
on the
that,
road.
I'll be on the road forever. So here I am. Came home early.
Well, I'm glad you're safe. I just saw it, like I said before, whenever you first got here, the first time I seen all this crap. I didn't even know we had a such thing as a bomb cyclone. I thought they were just called cyclones.
Hmm.
Yeah, I don't know why do they keep labeling it like that, and it just throws me off.
I don't know why they're naming it why it's called that. Where I grew up in New York, we never called it that. Like, I don't know if that's a weather news terminology or whatever. To
Just
me, it's
scared the
just
living
to me, it's
bejesus out of
to me,
you.
to me, it's a storm.
Right.
It's going to be windy and it's going to be rainy, and it's certainly not as bad as a hurricane.
No. Didn't New York get hit with the Sandy? Wasn't that Sandy that pretty much destroyed Staten
Yeah.
Island and all that?
I
Was
lived
that
there.
Sandy or Katrina?
That was Sandy. I lived
Sandy.
there. I lived there for Sandy. I was in New York still. That was before I moved out here, and it shut down the entire financial district of Manhattan. The lower part of Manhattan is below sea level, so the subways were literally underwater. Like, one of the subway stations was closed for 2 years. They had to rebuild the whole station. And yeah, that people don't know. Like, our whole economy, our like the whole country, Wall Street, the stock market is literally on the part of Manhattan that's below sea level. So when there's a bad
That's awesome.
storm, you get a hurricane that hits the right way. You get a bunch of storms that hit the right way, and that water starts washing over that little island that, in the grand scheme of things of the ocean and Mother Nature, Manhattan's just an island, and this is the low part of the island, so it could very easily get swept underwater, and
I
it
didn't
did,
know that.
and it did. Yeah.
There we go, kids. We got our geographical lesson of the day. Manhattan is under seawater.
They did change the way they do the power in Manhattan because of it. They're starting to raise the power towers and everything in lower Manhattan because it was too low to the ground, and that was a part of the problem.
I did not I didn't know that. I didn't know part of California was under. Well, I mean, down by the beaches and stuff, but I thought it all rose. I didn't know part of that was underwater or under seawater too.
Yeah. Well, because I'm in Central Valley, so part of the Central Valley of California is just flat grounds, farmland, agriculture, and some of it dips below sea level.
I did not know that.
Nope.
Learning something today, kids. I just learned something earlier too. So, are you going over the Hamlin hit later on you have a show later, right? You're running your show later?
Yeah.
Or are you popping on? Or are
if
you
I don't
popping on with us?
No, I'm going to be on tonight if I don't lose power. That's my thing for my channel. It's like if I'm sending a message out to all my subscribers and letting them know, like, if I'm not on, it's because I lost power.
Okay.
It's very typical for us to lose power in a windstorm.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
That's
it
crazy.
sucks when you know it's going to happen. Like on New Year's Eve, when the wind started blowing, I told my wife, I said, "Here it comes." I go, "We're running out of time. We're going to lose power." And we had like 3 little brownouts. We got the blinking, and then about
do you
5.
have a backup generator for your house?
No, this is only the second time it's happened because usually Sacramento is dry. I mean, we've had winters with no rain. I mean, that's what's more typical in Sacramento. So this is, it did happen 2 years ago, and now it's happening again. This is like weird weather patterns. This is different weather patterns because Sacramento is not supposed to be a place that gets 3 weeks of rain and storms, and like it's not typical. It's not normal. Sacramento is usually 60 degrees high, sunny all winter long with a low of like 45. That's kind of like a Sacramento winter. So this is all very.
I think it was a high today here, 45.
Yeah, it usually hits the 60s. It usually hits the 60s. Like it'll be sunny and break 60, all through the winter. Like on a drought year, like on years where we have you can't win because when we have drought years, the problem becomes fires. because there's not enough moisture. So then as soon as you get a fire, like in the spring, after, during a drought or the summer, as soon as you get the combination, actually, usually the wind comes in September, like August, September. That's why the California fires are in August, September. That's when it's the most windy. And it usually follows drought years. So
That's dry season too, right?
Yeah. So the one good thing about this is, well, you may have had enough water and moisture to make it less likely we'll have fires.
Well, that's good. It seems like that's a yearly thing in California. At some point, we know we're getting how fast what do they do? Just go in and replant trees and let them grow back that fast? Because it seems like it's always in the same area.
No, I mean, it's just it's bigger state than you think. Like that's the thing. It's like you think like you're gonna see it, and it's gonna be all burnt out, and you're gonna have to rebuild it, but it's not. It's all forest. There's so miles and hundreds of square miles of forest in California, and what you're hearing about when it affects people is in those hundreds of miles of forest. When it spreads, it'll pop out into a town or something when it's in a certain area, and it'll affect that town.
I've seen houses just get completely destroyed.
Yeah, it'll just go through a town.
I mean, those are the people that build houses in these forests, knowing that this damn shit happens.
Yeah, I mean, but 90% of it is not where people live. It's just deep in woods. It's just when it just will eventually, but it keeps spreading, and eventually it'll move to a place where, okay, there's a town now, because there's only so much every once in a while there's going to be a town,
right?
So that's what happens. But so most of it you don't see, but I've went to areas of California where, like, famous lakes where you go hiking and you see the lake that have been part of the fires, and I've taken pictures of just dead trees. Just you find like a football field of grayness, because it was only a couple of months after the fires, and it's just ash and dead trees for as far as you can see.
Do they clean that up, or is it just eventually all evaporate?
Nature, it's all up to nature. You already see new plants coming out, green popping out of the ground. It just regrows and recycles.
Gotcha. So Niners, do you think they take the division this week? I mean, the whole division, not just they already got their division, but the whole division.
Yeah. Well, I think the Niners are going to come out and just crush the Cardinals, because they're not going to get caught unprepared. I think they're going to be pumped up. They're going to come out and they're going to pound the Cardinals. They're going to win at home. They're going to make a big exclamation point, and bring on the playoffs.
Yeah. Do the Eagles fall flat on their face like they've been, or do they get the one win and clinch?
Depends who's playing quarterback for them.
Because now it looks like for the Commanders this weekend, we're getting Sam Howell.
See, the thing about the Eagle game is the Giants
they're playing the Cowboys.
Well, the Giants, the Eagles play the Giants, right?
And right. The Cowboys play the Giants. I mean, the Cowboys play the Commanders.
Right. So I think Dallas is probably going to beat the Commanders.
I would, especially with the rookie Sam Howell.
Yeah. So they're gonna come out and beat the Commanders, and the Eagles will probably beat the Giants, because I think it depends. I mean, it's hard to say. The Giants have a really good coach. Talent-wise, the Giants might have 4 players on their entire team that would start on the Eagles. So it's and they clinched their playoff spot, right? The Giants they did a great job. They rose to the occasion. They played against the Colts. They didn't leave any room for a letdown game. They came out and they took care of business. They pounded the Colts, and you have to think that they're gonna lose a little bit of the intensity they had, because they got the playoff spot and they know they're not going to be at home. They know it's a wild card spot. They're not playing for much, and the Eagles are playing for a lot. They're at home. They're mad because they've lost a couple. They probably definitely want to get. Not only do they want to play for the number 1 seed, but they want to go into the playoffs with a win, and not like go into the playoffs after such a great season with 3 losses in a row.
That's not good. Can the Eagles still lose the division, or did they clinch the division? Their division.
I'm looking at the standings real fast. I think because Dallas beat them the last time they played.
Right.
Just beat them recently, but they did not clinch the division. If Dallas was to win and the Eagles were to lose, Dallas would take the division because they would win the tiebreaker. They'd both
and the
be
Niners would still get first place, right?
The
Niners would still get first place with a win, right?
Yeah, the Niners are let's see. I think the Niners have the advantage over Philly because of conference record and division record.
But what about the Cowboys if they tie them? Because the Cowboys are better than the Eagles because of the games.
Yeah, but did the Niners play Dallas this year?
I don't think they did.
I don't think they did.
I don't have the schedule in front of me.
I think the Niners are in the best shape because they have the best conference record, and it always defaults to division conference.
They could sweep the conference this weekend, I believe, for the first time in a while.
Yeah, if the Niners win against Arizona, that's going to make them 10-2 in the conference, and neither the Eagles or the Cowboys could get to 10 wins in the conference. And I think
the Niners kind of control their own destiny by winning, but they still need help.
Right. And it's the same thing with Minnesota. Minnesota also has 12 wins. They can also finish with 13 wins. But again, they have a 7-4 conference record and a 3-2 division record. So there's no way they're going to beat it. They're not going to win a tiebreaker against the Niners unless any of these teams beat the Niners. And I don't think that's happened. Like, I got to check the schedule and remember the whole year, but I don't think any of these guys beat the Niners. So they just don't have a tiebreaker on them. There's no tiebreaker. Yeah. Like not Eagles, Dallas, Minnesota. None of these teams have played the Niners. Otherwise that would be the overriding tiebreaker. When you look at it, the Niners have had a really easy schedule, though. I will confess that. It's probably one of the easier schedules I've seen in football. But they took care of business and did what they had to do. And they did it handedly. Like, they beat Miami 33-17. They beat Tampa 35-7. You know, like, they put an exclamation point on most of their wins. Last time they played Arizona, at Arizona, they won 38-10.
Right.
You know, but it's an easy schedule overall, regardless of what somebody thinks and wants to say, because they love their team, but they're going to be in denial of it. It was an easy schedule when you compare it to other schedules.
Well, I was saying earlier how the Patriots haven't beat anyone over 500.
Yeah,
and they could still make the playoffs.
Yeah, look, there you go. And look, it's not a put down to say that it's an easy schedule. It's not the Niners' fault. The Niners don't control their schedule, right? No. In that sense, a team is given their schedule. The Niners did what they were supposed to do. They took care of business and they won the games. But if you're
that schedule kind of helps from last year not making the playoffs, right?
Exactly. I mean, well, yeah. I mean, and sometimes it's just what conference you play in. Right, so they're playing in a conference where Seattle is the best other team, and they have Geno Smith.
No one picked that. Everyone had the Rams as being one of the best teams in that division.
And the Rams turned out to be not to take anything away from San Francisco, and the way they beat the Rams was very impressive. They pounded them twice, not taking anything away from them. But the reality is, the schedule is the schedule. You know, when you're playing Chicago, when you're playing Denver, when you're playing the Rams twice, who have not been good this year. Carolina's not good. Atlanta's not good. I mean, who have they played? They played Kansas City. You know what I mean? And Miami's good, but they're not superstars. Miami's barely going to finish 500. You know, it's like hard to find any really super impressive. You know, they're not playing Minnesota. They're not playing Philadelphia. They're not playing Dallas. They played Kansas City. They're not playing Buffalo. They're not playing all the great teams in the top teams.
Right.
So, Uh-oh, somebody.
You settled yet over there, Melissa? What's going on?
I'm good. I'm just putting my coat away. It's raining. It's raining.
You guys both have. Oh, you're clean. Oh, I thought you said it's
What?
raining.
It is raining. It's raining outside.
And Ted is on a plane, gonna fly through this fucking cyclone.
Oh, at least I got home safe and sound, and I didn't have to deal with crazy Jersey drivers, so I'm happy.
Well,
So
no, Ted's
you
in
were-
Maui. He's got to fly through this cyclone, go over the Pacific right now to get back home.
So you guys were saying something about an easy schedule?
Yeah, well, it's not an opinion; it's a fact. If you watch the team, if you look at the record of the teams they played, it's an easy schedule.
Getting destroyed by the Chiefs and playing that schedule with those teams with 3 different quarterbacks is not easy, in my opinion.
Well, it's irrelevant who the quarterbacks are. We're talking about the schedule. They played Kansas City. That's it. That's the only top team they played.
Really? They played Tua while Tua was on a win streak, and they started losing afterwards. They played a desperate Buccaneers team that was desperate to get into the playoffs.
But look what you're doing. You're sitting there being subjective with reality. You're saying a desperate team. It doesn't matter. It's what's the record of the teams they played. When you talk about difficulty of schedule,
Okay, and at that point, when they faced Miami, did they have 3 losses at the most? The Teddy Bridgewater? This whole losing streak Miami's been on is after the Niners.
right? I'm not saying that the Miami game was not impressive. I'm not saying any of the wins weren't impressive. I think the Rams game, the first one, was impressive. That was before the Rams fell up. I'm not saying that technically there's no easy schedule for any NFL team, but when you do it comparatively, it's a desirable schedule. It's like if you want to look at other teams' schedule and what they had to play, and you look at the Niners' schedule at the end of the year, looking back at it, it's a desirable schedule. I would love that schedule next year.
So you're saying you would say then the NFC North is the one that had the hardest schedule because they faced the 2 most dominant divisions in the NFC East and the AFC East.
Possibly, I'd have to look at it by team, but possibly.
Okay.
I'm saying the teams that had I think you have to look at each team. It's not really subjective. I mean, it's just fact. You just tally up the record of the teams you played, and you determine strength of schedule. I'm not saying that's everything. I know there's subjectiveness to it. I know there's but they played that team and they had a backup quarterback, but we played them when they had to start. No, I get all that, but if you're talking from an NFL standpoint, like the position of the NFL. And
I get where you're coming from. That's
when
all I wanted to ask.
When they talk about strength of schedule, like for a tiebreaker in the playoffs, when they're doing a tiebreaker of who goes, their strength of schedule becomes one of the tiebreakers. The NFL doesn't care that they played Tampa when they were desperate to win. They just look at the overall record of the opponents and they determine strength of schedule. So, yeah, we could sit here and know the truth and say, okay, Miami was much harder than people think because Miami was still winning at that point. We could say, hey, Tampa was playing really well at the time that we played them. So we could know that we could understand that. I'm talking from a very technical standpoint. I'm talking about how the NFL determines how to break a tie for the playoffs, because we were sitting here talking about clinching, the number 1 seed. And if it came down to strength of schedule based on the definition of the NFL, records of the team.
Here's look at number 1 if the Eagles lost.
Well, that's where it gets interesting. Are they guaranteed that number 1 spot, or
no?
The Cowboys, if they win and they get the NFC East.
Okay.
The Niners get it with a win. The Niners clinch the number 1 seed with a win because the first tiebreaker is conference record, and the Niners win.
And that's where we get the conference record because they're 10-2. You said, I believe you said, okay.
Yeah, the first tiebreaker would be head to head. They haven't played each other head to head.
So the one thing that you guys are forgetting, the only way the Niners get it is if they beat the Cardinals and then the Philadelphia Eagles lose to the Giants. But we don't know if the Giants are actually going to play their starters, and we don't know how much Jalen Hurts is actually going to play because I highly doubt they're going to not play him at all.
And you could be right about that, but I want to ask why, because maybe I'm making a mistake here. But why would the Eagles get it over the Niners if they both win? Oh, I see. Oh,
the Eagles don't have as many losses as the Niners.
The Eagles have a better record. I didn't see that. The Eagles have a better record.
So if the Eagles lose and the Niners win, then the Niners automatically go to 1.
Right. The Niners have to pull even with them in record. That's right. I did see. That's the part I was overlooking. The Philadelphia, if they win, have 14 wins, so they win on record. So we need the Eagles to lose. Need the Eagles to lose. The Eagles have to lose.
Yes, sir.
So, and there's a chance the Giants are gonna want to like come out and beat them and like warm up for the playoffs. And it's a division rivalry. They hate their guts. It's never, there's been many over the years. The Eagles and Giants have beat each other when the other team is better, just because of the rivalry, right? The hatred. Like in other words, it's never a give me game when the Eagles play the Giants. I mean, it's just one of those rivalries. So
it's one of those rivalries that just always brings drama. That's for sure.
Yeah. So there's a possibility that the Giants beat them. And plus the Eagles are at a 2-game losing streak. Maybe they lost some confidence. Maybe this is going to be their collapse.
There is a few key injuries there. So Lane Johnson is still hurt. And Josh Sweat just got hurt this previous game that they lost.
And what about
to the Saints?
What about the Eagles at quarterback? Do you know who's playing on Sunday?
Right now they're warming both of them up, but I think Jalen Hurts is going to at least play maybe a quarter, if not a half, because Minshew has not looked good. I think if Minshew looked at least a little better, if he had lost these 2 games, then they'd feel more confident that they didn't have to play Jalen. But I also don't think the way Jalen Hurts played in the playoffs last year, even if Minshew had won the games or looked at least good enough to maybe beat the Giants, I still don't know if they would want him to like not have played for at least over a month. It's been 2 weeks, and then you have the bye week, and then you're playing like a month later. So this would be like the 3rd week in the regular season. So I don't know how that shakes out.
See, so there's a chance that Philly's going to lose, because there's even if Hurts plays, he hasn't played in 3 weeks, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so he could be rusty.
Yeah.
Plus, is he completely healthy, or is he rushing back? Like you
Plus,
said.
you also he was a big runner before. He's not going to run now, or he shouldn't run. It's his throwing shoulder, so you don't know if that's going to affect his throwing motion. And the way that Kayvon Thibodeau is playing, I don't know if I would trust the other defense with your starting like franchise quarterback. Plus, they still haven't paid Jalen Hurts, so that's another issue.
The Giants could be like more dangerous than people think, because Thibodeau has been playing really well, and that changes everything.
I also think that with all the injuries, I don't know if the bye week is so important for the Eagles right now. Like, you want to be able to at least have enough healthy bodies to be dominant in the playoffs, or to not like be one and done the way you were last year. So, but then I don't know these franchises, because I thought for sure, right, when Josh Allen was hurt with that elbow issue, he wouldn't play against the Jets and all those other teams, but then he played the Jets game, and then he kept playing. And I thought for sure when they said rib injury, Justin Herbert wouldn't play, but then he played through his injury. So it's just, you never know with these teams. Like they make you prepare for both quarterbacks, and then you just never know if they're going to force the play or not, And even with Teddy Bridgewater playing this week, I mean, every single time that Teddy Bridgewater has come in for Tua with the concussions, he can't finish the game. Like, every single time they had to go to Skylar Thompson. So like, even if you're preparing for the right quarterback, that right quarterback might not even be the one that finishes the game. So it's definitely going to be interesting.
Yeah, I think that I think the key thing is normally you'd think, oh, it's going to be really hard to believe the Giants are going to beat the Eagles in a normal situation, but it feels like there's a lot of reasons why the Giants might win that game.
I also think it's Brian Dable wanting to finish off the year strong. Like, that's the biggest thing. Like, I think Wink Martindale is sick of being one and done with the Ravens, and he wants to continuously push it to John Harbaugh. So, and the Giants just have so many injuries, and they don't even have enough talent. I don't even know if you could rest that team if you wanted to.
I think they're just.
I'm literally not taking a pot shot. Like, I'm literally thinking in my head, okay, you just got Bellinger back, the tight end. He could maybe sit. They don't have enough corners.
No, I think it's 100% true.
I don't know if Leonard Williams is playing through his injury or if he's out. It's like I keep watching the Giants every week, and I'm astounded not only the way that they're winning and the grit that they get from the coaching, and it's just at the same time, like I don't know how they could physically do it. Like Philly, it makes sense they could bench, but I don't see how the Giants bench.
I'm trying to see if there's if there's anything on the line for the Giants here. Let's try to figure out what it is.
No, they're 6 no matter what happens.
Yeah,
See, at least with the Cowboys makes sense. You can still win the division, and you can move from 5 maybe into 3 or 2 or 1. You know, that makes sense. Philly, you can get the bye, or you can at least try to keep
the Giants have nothing to gain
or lose.
Yeah.
So that's the way I said.
Nothing to lose, nothing to gain. They're just like they're in that spot regardless, no matter what. So,
but it can change who they play, right? I mean, obviously, if it ended this week, this would be the matchups. If it ended this week,
but they don't have a they don't have a decision in that. That's all the other teams that decide the pecking order of the division winners.
Well, does it change it? If they beat the Eagles, does it change anything? Because it changes who the Eagles play.
So if they beat the
Eagles and Cowboys, so
in that respect, yeah.
Go ahead. I was just gonna say if it finished out, if the Eagles lose and the Niners win, Niners get first. That bump and the Cowboys win, that would put the Eagles all the way down the 5th, and that would put the Giants playing the Eagles.
Right?
No, that would put the Giants either playing the Vikings or the Cowboys.
No, if the Cowboys win and the Eagles lose, the Cowboys win the division.
That's what I said. So
that would put them in second and play the Seahawks. Or the Packers. The Packers are on fire. The Seahawks have to win this weekend to get in, right?
So whoever is at 2, whether it's the Niners, the Cowboys, the Eagles, or Minnesota, they would play the 7th seed. So that would be either the Seahawks, the Packers, or the Lions, right? 6 would face 3. So that currently right now is Minnesota. And then 4 would go against 5. So right now that'd be Tampa versus the Cowboys. So that's why everything's up in the air right now, because we know who's in the playoffs. We just don't know what the seeding is yet based on this last week.
It's going to be
Seahawks might be out still.
I don't know. I don't think the Giants are going to be playing. Well, you know how we'll know if the Giants are playing to win? If Daniel Jones is starting or not. I mean, if he doesn't start Daniel Jones as a quarterback, then they're not there to win.
Quite honestly, I don't even know who the hell would play if it's not Daniel Jones. I don't know if Tyrod Taylor's over his injuries that he had. I don't even know who the backup quarterback is behind Tyrod Taylor.
Yeah, but what do they care? They have somebody. Why would they risk Daniel Jones' health if they, if they play Daniel Jones, that means they want to win.
No. I understand where you're coming from. I'm thinking in my head. I'm trying to think who the hell else would be there if Tyrod Taylor can't finish the game, which like Teddy Bridgewater. Unfortunately, he's proven that he can't finish games off.
Be some guy off the practice squad. No, really, it would be there. It would be if it's not Tyrod Taylor, it's a guy off the practice squad because they don't dress. They only dress 2 quarterbacks. So
now the question is, do you think the Rams play spoiler on the Seahawks? Because they're on what, Baker Mayfield? That's their 3rd quarterback. Aaron Donald sat for the year. Like, do you think that the Rams have enough fight in them that they're gonna want to spoil the Seahawks getting kicked out of the playoffs?
I just know that it sucks for the Seahawks because you have you know what sucks for the Seahawks because the Rams are, when you talk about teams that don't have anything to play for, like out of the teams that are eliminated, the Rams are the worst one to play because Baker Mayfield wants to rebuild his career. Like, so they might be taking it on as a, you know what I mean? Like they're trying to like.
Plus, Sean McVay is not going to want to lose on the year to Pete Carroll. Yeah, I know all those things. It's just
right. Like I think the Rams are going to want to win, and I think that he wants to see what he has in Baker Mayfield. I think,
and this is their Super Bowl to knock the Seahawks out of the freaking playoffs.
Yeah,
there's a lot of motivation behind a winless team here.
Yeah, he's going to want to win. He's going to want.
Baker Mayfield always wants to win. He doesn't care how bad his fucking team sucks.
He's going to want to win. To rebuild.
You know, the more I think about it, and maybe it's just me, but the more I think about it, I think about that one year. You remember Andy Dalton beat somebody? I forget who he beat, and the Buffalo Bills got into the playoffs that way. And you remember the very first thing they did after they won that playoff berth? The Buffalo Bills made that huge donation to the Andy Dalton Foundation. I feel like that's kind of this kind of game where the Rams are gonna like try to play spoiler and like if it helps the Lions get into the playoffs because they still need the Seahawks to lose to get into the playoffs even if they beat the Packers. It's gonna be like one of those situations. So what did you guys say about the game? Or you just been talking about the playoffs?
We were saying before, I think Paul was saying it, and then I was saying it. We both agreed that
Paul was here.
They're like
yeah,
I think that like Arizona's not a trap game because I think the trap game was the Raiders game, but San Francisco is a good enough team to survive it. Like they came in and they, you know,
that's where I disagree with you guys. You guys are forgetting one very big part about this Cardinals game that I think is getting really swept under the rug. Okay, so now you're playing without Drake Greenlaw, who's one of the better linebackers in the league, who got snubbed. You're playing without Aaron Banks, who's been your key left guard, who's been one of your linchpins on the offensive line. But more than that, you're playing a desperate Cardinals team that does not want to get swept by the Niners like they did in 2019, right? They're very proud of that record of not ever getting swept besides that 1 year. Cliff Kingsbury's playing for his job. Those players are playing for their jobs. And more than that, it's the last game.
I think Kingsbury's job's already been made up. Okay. I think he's gone.
But it's the last game ever JJ Watt's going to ever play. And the weight that holds, I don't think this is going to be an easy game.
Well, I didn't mean it like that. When I say I don't think it's going to be a trap game, I don't think the Niners are going to take it lightly. I think that they didn't take the Raiders seriously enough.
Oh, I agree there.
You know what I'm saying?
They did some weird shit. Like Tony from Nothing But Niners was pointing out that they were doing this weird thing where they were having Dre and Fred on opposite sides of the field, and then they would like crisscross and then like switch to opposite sides. Like they were literally like testing plays on the Raiders. Like they were like that. It's just a really weird game where it felt like they were more like testing it, like a pre-playoffs, like a preseason game.
Yeah. So when I say trap, my definition of that it's not a trap game is not that Arizona is not a tough win or how they're going to play. It's just based on I don't think San Francisco is going to sleep. Like San Francisco is going to come in hard now. They got a scare from the Raiders, and now they're going to come in and say we're taking care of business. They're going to be focused, and they're going to
I
play
hope
their
so.
they're going to play their best game. Now that doesn't mean they're going to win. So because you're right, Arizona, Watt's last game, they're going to be fighting division rivalry, but I just don't think that San Francisco's going to have a letdown game. I think they're going to come out hard to play.
I hope so.
I hope so too. I think they should beat the crap out of this team.
I think they're really rallying around Brock Purdy. I think that they're got a lot of fun momentum. I think they're having fun. I think they want to keep winning. I think that you want to go into the playoffs winning.
That I agree with.
I think they need that
times
bye week more than
infinity.
ever. I think
I
playing
will-
this game
I
and getting
would
the
like
bye
it.
week is way more important than anything right now.
I would like it
But-
for a multitude of reasons. I would like it so that way you have an extra week to maybe get
Debo
players a little
fully healthy.
healthier. You get players a little healthier. You can kind of cut down on the time that you're missing key people like an Aaron Banks and a Drake Greenlaw. I like that it's a
I
rest
did-
period because I feel like it's been so much drama having to win from quarterback to quarterback to quarterback, and to be that first team that clinched a division. I think sometimes you just need that reset mode. You need to take a break. You need to see your family. You need to just calm
you need it-
down and recharge. And I also think it'll be a big boost because 2 straight years you went 3-5 and 3-4 to start the years, and you made it into playoffs. And I think a week off would do them a world of good. But like I said, that's completely out of their hands. So they need a lot of help. It's possible. I really didn't think it was possible. I thought the 2 seed would be too much before, but it happened. The Vikings no-showed against the Packers. So we'll see what happens. I'm not putting any lofty stuff anymore because I said 42-7 last week. I came in really cocky, thinking that we were going to roll over the Raiders, and it was another really stressful nail biter. So, and one of my favorite players got hurt. So, I'm not taking anything lightly this last week.
That's what else we talked about before you jumped on, Melissa. We talked about, was that game a wake-up call for the defense? Because
I thought the Commanders one was because, quite honestly, they were holding their hat on not letting any team have a 70-yard plus rusher, and then they let someone have 79 yards against the Commanders and Brian Robinson, I believe.
but he had 55 carries that game. And
Yeah,
he only averaged 2.2 yards a carry.
But that was one of those records that they were holding on to. Someone hasn't done that since 1930. That was a huge thing that the team was watching. They've been watching the both sack numbers, and they didn't get any sacks in this past game. They've been trying to do turnovers, and pick sixes and all these other things, and it's just it feels like every time you think that they'll come out hungrier, and they haven't this past week. Now, this past week, I think, is more an anomaly because I really do think that they were just testing the Raiders to see if they could try all these sub packages and other things when things don't work out the way they're perfectly planned. And that's also the big fear is you don't want Shanahan to get cute, and when he's being cute, someone gets hurt. So I hope it's not a blowout. I hope it's a competitive game, or at least it's more in the Niners' favor. I like to see George Kittle back up to 2 touchdowns a game, but it is what it is,
I think Purdy and him have definitely found a well connection, which seems to be the rookie thing and tight end thing to do in the NFL.
And I also have this one worry, right?
You agree with that there, Chaos?
Yeah, I think players definitely cling to each other and find connections, and I think that's really, I mean, who has, if you've ever played any sport, you could relate to it. that there are people you play better with, people you feel comfortable with, people you trust. And it does impact that for sure.
I just feel that they have that connection because Kittle's able to break the big pass, and he's also not going to be, out of hindsight, I guess as they would say, with the mask on.
The one good thing about Kittle, and I think this has helped Purdy like calm down a bit with him, is that if Kittle can't get the play, like if someone jumps him or if the ball doesn't come out right or something, Kittle is usually good about tackling and knocking the ball away so it doesn't become interceptions. And I think for a young rookie quarterback, that more than the sure hands and the speed and being able to stiff arm, it is an important thing because you can trust this player not to just let the defender take away the balls and then make big plays, Like Kittle's not just going to stand there and just watch, So I think that's key.
I think Kittle's one of the top tight ends in the game. That's just
who's better, Freiermuth for the Steelers?
Absolutely, Freiermuth is going to be better than Kittle one day. Absolutely. Now, Freiermuth is a solid.
I'm not saying he's not solid, but he's not George Kittle.
I mean, naturally, everyone's going to say the other guy, that 87 guy on that red team that plays in the AFC.
Okay, so my top tight ends are George Kittle. I don't know if I put him at number 1, but I put him in the top 3. Okay. Mark Andrews. You can't, like, that team falls apart without Mark Andrews. Like, he's that important. Like, I know he's not like a full tight end. Usually he's more like a Travis Kelce where he's a catching tight end, but the way that offense just falls apart without him, I think you have to kind of give him that kind of respect. I put Dallas Goedert up there. I put Dawson Knox up there.
You're really leaving Travis Kelce out of it because he's a Chief.
Travis Kelce, I put in like the top 4, top 5. Just the way, like, okay, so for me, tight end has to be an all-around player. It can't be just like, what was the guy from the Saints? Jimmy Graham, right? You can't be a Jimmy Graham. You can't just be speed and catching and nothing else. So yeah, I
also played basketball his whole career, so he never learned the whole game.
So I know there are games where Travis Kelce throws blocks, but he's more like a Shannon Sharp who prefers all the fancy stats and the fancy touchdowns and the fancy everything and doesn't want to do that hard, gritty work. He won't be one of those guys that is helping off the offensive line, and he's not going to go and help in the run game by sealing up the first level, the second level, and the third level. Like, he's not going to be one of those guys that wants to be the decoy for a touchdown. He'll be wanting the touchdown. It's not that he's not impressive. It's just, for me personally, I can't put him over the guys that do all the grunt work and then do all the other flashy stuff that he does.
Chaos, you look like you got something to say right now.
No,
go ahead, rip me apart. I don't care.
I'm not ripping you apart. No, I was still thinking about Kittle and what I said, and then I realized, I don't care if I'm the quarterback, if any quarterback, if you don't know to throw the ball to Kittle, you got a screw loose in your head. I love that Kittle. He's one of my favorite players in the NFL. I love him.
You know what? This is gonna sound weird, but to this day, I know it was a loss, but I think one of my favorite plays for George Kittle was the Ricardo Allen block in the end zone where Ricardo Allen knocks him on his back and he's on top of George Kittle. And as Ricardo Allen is getting up, George Kittle is just laughing like a hyena in his face. It's one of those moments where you can't help but love him. Like,
he's incredible. He's an incredible player. Like he does things that just blow me away. Like, watching him play is just as good as
you gotta watch. anything in the world, watch the mic'd up from the 2019 divisional round where George Kittle kept just screaming the whole game, run it again, and he's like giving Danielle Hunter fits and pissing him off, and he's having such a giddy time blocking. And I may hate Jimmy Garoppolo, but the one funny bit was in that game. Jimmy Garoppolo had a pancake on Anthony Barr. My brother kept telling me the whole, week up into that game. He goes, Anthony Barr is a dirty player. He's gonna hurt your quarterback, and it's just funny. It wasn't like a full pancake. It was like a, I put my stiff arm and you're kind of like tripped up and. But whatever, it kind of as a pancake block, and it's just like the whole team was like laughing that Jimmy Garoppolo of all people did a pancake on Anthony Barr. So it's like one of those funny things like you got to watch over and over again just for the sheer hilarity of it.
I got to check it out. He made a play last year. He made a play last year that, man, I use it in my promo for my channel. Like it's from a watch party we were doing for the Niners Bengals, and Kittle made a catch.
I know which one you're talking about. The fourth quarter in the Bengals game.
When he put the ball over the pylon. Was that the most amazing play?
That was good. Okay, but you got to watch the one in the fourth quarter where he goes up and he like bends himself into like a pretzel trying to go up for the ball that led to the failed field goal kick from Robbie Gould in that Bengals game. Oh, I got to take a picture of it where it's timestamp for you. That's like one of the most impressive catches of his whole entire career.
Wow, yeah, he was amazing that game. That game, I said that's my player. That's the
Bengals game. You know the best part about the Bengals game?
Bengals game, yeah.
I've at least seen that maybe 37 times.
All right, guys. Before we close this one out, because I want to eat before I get to my next show, and I'm sure Jet or Chaos wants to eat, and I don't know if Melissa went out to eat with her mom or not from the doctors or not, but I would like to eat before I do my next show. Predictions for this game. I know I forgot to ask Paul, but it's all right. Paul thinks you guys are gonna win. Paul thinks we're gonna win, so I think we're gonna win this game too. Yeah. I don't really have a score. I'm thinking it's gonna be like 35-14. That's just me. I'm thinking big win in Levi Stadium to close out the year.
Okay. 35-21.
I think they're going to get fluke touchdowns, but that's just me. What you got there, Kay?
27-13, Niners.
All righty. We do not have a closing statement for this one, so we're just going to put up the picture of Mr. Hamlin, and we are going to close this thing out. Chaos, good luck on your show tonight. You want to tell people real quick what you got down the pipeline tonight?
Yeah, this is for my Jets channel, Jets Chaos, and my Wacky Wednesday show, 10 p.m. Eastern, every Wednesday night. There's a 50-50 chance it will go on without and be okay, and there's a 50% chance it's going to get cut off due to no power because we have a storm coming. So I'm going to try to get the show. Thanks. I'm gonna actually go out. I'm going out to buy supplies right now. It's just a couple of extra things that we need, but yeah, just hoping the show
gets. You're like shopping like we used to on the East Coast. Whenever they said snow was coming, run to the store and get milk.
Oh, please don't mention that.
Exactly.
I hate that. Okay. No joke. This one lady where we used to live in Passaic County, right? Every time there was any kind of precipitation, whether it was wind, rain, snow, whatever, just any kind of precipitation, she'd have 5 carts. Literally, like she would drag 5 carts around the place and just fill them with every kind of canned food. One whole cart would be tuna cans. The other whole cart would be soups. The other one would be like spaghetti in a can. Like the woman would like go crazy on can sales, and anytime there was the kind of weather, it's just, and she like yell at people if they went near her carts. Like it's crazy. People think really the world's gonna end if there's any rain. But Jets Chaos, I want to ask one question since you're not gonna be on the show later. Do you play spoiler against the Miami Dolphins this week with Mike White?
here's the thing: the Jets love to shoot. The Jets love to shoot themselves in the foot, right? So here's a
Yes.
game that means absolutely nothing that could determine whether they could end up. They win the game, they could end up being as far back as the 17th pick in the draft or 16th pick in the draft. They lose the game, they could go all the way up to the 10th pick in the draft. So I'm not a fan who roots for to tank or anything like that. So it has nothing to do with it. But I'm saying the Jets love to do what's ever worse for them. And technically, as an organization, the worst thing they could do is win this game because it would knock them back 6 or 7 draft spots. Therefore, I expect the Jets to win the game because the Jets love to hurt themselves. So they'll probably
I
have
was
a
going to
big
say, do
win.
you think they would go after Ringo? I'm sure this is conversation for another day, but do they need a cornerback, another cornerback for that defensive?
No, they're gonna. If they went defense, it would be for a safety. They need a free safety more than anything, and then if not that, a linebacker. But well, they could use a safety, a linebacker, even some would argue a run stopping defensive tackle. But I think
Don't you need an
lot
offensive
of Jet
line
fans-
too? Because Becton is never healthy.
Yes, I think that a lot of Jet fans would love to see
And
them. Especially
Dwayne
if,
Brown is
There's what
ancient as hell.
there's
Especially
three
if they-
linemen projected to go in the top 20 next year. I believe I was seeing earlier.
yeah, I think that if the Jets, if the Jets get the 10th pick, there's 2 to 3, there's 2 offensive linemen that you could easily justify in the top 10. So I would be.
Isn't Dwayne Brown the oldest left tackle right now since Whitworth retired?
Oh yeah, and he's a cripple, so he's like he can't raise his left hand over his shoulder. So he's like.
Plus, as we are now talking about the Niners, you hate that the player that they brought over there for your left guard.
Oh,
I heard you about Lincoln. I heard you.
He has not worked out. He's been a huge disappointment. So, yeah, no, the Jets definitely need offensive line help. So it's very possible they'll go offensive tackle. But also on the defensive side, they're desperate for a safety. They really need a safety, so they.
And my last question is, there's a possibility that they bring him back, and there's a possibility don't bring him back. Do you think because they have ties to the Niners that you might bring in Mike McGlinchey if we don't sign him?
Mike who?
McGlinchey, the right tackle.
I don't know if we're gonna have the money. I think so. If they can afford it and make it work, because the Jets are in a position where they're gonna have to pay some money for a quarterback now. I don't know.
I understand that. I was just curious because I didn't know if it's just your left side or is it your whole offensive line?
No. Oh no, we would
refurbishing.
We would definitely take him because we would definitely love to. Like if it wasn't financial, we would definitely love him. A lot of the Jet fan base has already brought him up. We'd love to take and plus the Niner guys know the system and everything like that, so they know that scheme. So
and the best part is he'd fit better on your team than my team because you guys are more run centric than play action. So with a Breece Hall and a Michael Carter and I'm blanking on your other running backs, he'd be much more beneficial for you because he's a phenomenal run blocker, but he's not the greatest pass blocking right tackle.
We would absolutely love him. The issue is just money. It's about money because now we have to use our money to get a quarterback. So the whole Zach being a bust thing has really hurt the team that way because it's screwed up the financial plans because now all of a sudden the Jets got to scrape up, God knows how much money to get whichever quarterback they're going to end up with, but there's no way they can go into next season with Zach Wilson as their starter. So,
no.
All righty, guys. This was a great way to end the show. We're leading into tonight's recap. If I can find a way to copy and paste this and put it in there, I will. But I don't know if I will. I'm sure there's a way to do it. I just don't know how. I'm not that swabby.
I had to ask him because he's not going to be there. The teams are irrevocably tied together. I don't know if both LaFleur and Saleh are going to survive the off season, but more than likely they will.
Next year is their do or die.
And it's not like there aren't Niner players over there that haven't worked out. Like you have a DJ Reed who's done wonders not only as himself, but for Sauce Gardner. You have Quan Alexander who for some reason works much better with you and his hot-headedness.
So no, I don't think there's any hesitation to go for Niners players because of Lakin. Like that hasn't killed the desire to have Niners players, because it's the same thing with Miami. You're gonna have Miami doing the same thing. You know, like coaches like to go with players they know, and know work, and they know that those players work in their system.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Plus,
normal.
it's nice to
right?
have a familiar face that will know how the coach is, to give the coach what he wants, that can't always articulate it correctly. And some of these guys are just like more devoted to the coaches that they know. So it makes sense.
Absolutely. Guys, I got to go run to the store because the wind is coming.
We're closing out, guys. Thank you for coming by, Chaos. Melissa, I will see you in a couple hours. And
Bye.
everybody, I am Sports Talking It, and we will have the recap in a couple hours.
Love it.
Later, guys.
Take care.